CIA actively seeks to hire people who have sociopathic tendencies. After 9/11, everybody went nuts. Bush is saying, no, we don't torture. He looks in the camera, we do not torture. It's all a lie. The president was a bald-faced liar. If I'm convicted, what am I looking at? And they said 12 to 18 years. Everybody comes out of prison with PTSD. And if you're a cop, you're going to get a beat down. I made strategic alliances from the minute I walked through the door.
And so why did you do it? Did you have...
Because I was right. Every document that remains classified has the word Israel in it.
What do you think about Epstein?
I believe very strongly that
Gaza. Does torture work? Who are you today? Are you a good liar? Hey guys, it's Carlos. Hey, we have got a terrific new episode, all with John Kiriakou, the world famous former CIA spy. And look, he's talking about all new things, about how Louis Farrakhan, yes, that Louis Farrakhan, saved his life, a dramatic story about JFK's assassination, in his mind, what's really going on in Iran, and the rest of that his wife is cheating story. That's right, you're going to find out what happened with Stelios. You don't want to miss it. All new John Kiriakou, straight ahead.
He is back. Emmy Award-winning journalist. He's interviewed presidents, rebels, icons, thinkers. He is Carlos Watson.
Did you stay in the Middle East your whole ride?
Yeah. And even in Athens, I did 2 years in Athens, but that was, besides 17 November, that was the Abu Nidal organization, the Libyans, Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, PFLP General Command.
Wait, that was going on in Greece?
Oh, they were. Greece was the most dangerous place in the world in the late 1990s. We spent more money on security in Athens than we spent in Beirut. People don't know that.
Why was Greece so dangerous?
Because the socialist government of Andreas Papandreou told all the Arab terrorist groups, you can pass through here if you don't kill Greeks. Well, they didn't care if they killed Americans. So there we are.
And so how good a spy were you?
I'll tell you my station chief's words rather than my own. I'm very proud of this. He put me aside one day and he said, I've been in the agency for 25 years and I've made 9 quality recruitments. I remember every single one of them. He said, you've been here for 2 years and you've recruited 5 people, badasses, terrorists. He said, you have a knack for this. And I told him, I have never in my life been so happy and fulfilled in a job as I am here.
So for 15 years, you were fired up to go to work.
Yeah, I remember I was at the agency 8 months and it's August 2nd, 1990. The Iraqis have just invaded Kuwait 4 hours earlier. I get to the office early and my boss says, don't take your jacket off. We're going to go to the White House. I said, cool. I've never been to the White House. I mean, as a tourist I had, but I'd never been there like for business. We get in the car. It's about 7 a.m, drive to the White House. This Marine is there at the door of the West Wing. He escorts us in straight into the Oval Office. There's the president, the vice president, the national security advisor, the CIA director, and then my boss and me. The president says, gentlemen, please sit. So we all sit and I'm looking around. And I remember saying to myself, my friends would never believe me if I told them where I was right now. Never believe me. So the president says, well, now what do we do? And then everybody turns and looks at me. And it took me a second. And I said, oh, Mr. President, as you know, Iraqi troops, I have chills right now thinking of it, just remembering it. I said, Iraqi troops crossed the Kuwaiti border at 2 o'clock in the morning. They seized the entirety of Kuwait. The royal family has fled to Saudi Arabia, blah, 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 blah. And he says, do we know who is in charge in Kuwait right now? I said, yes, sir, we do. The Iraqis made an announcement that Dr. Ahmed Khatib is now the occupation governor of Iraq. Do we know anything about him? I said, yes, sir. I had actually written an article about him a month earlier just because he was interesting to me. I said, yes, sir. He's a medical doctor. He hates the royal family because his mother was a slave in the household of the royal family. They had slavery until 1955 on the Arabian Peninsula. So I said, she was a Sudanese slave. To sort of make up for it, once slavery ended, they sent Ahmed to the American University of Beirut. He trained there as a doctor, but his college roommate was Georges Habash, and together they founded the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. And the vice president says, "Jesus Christ," like that. And the president just goes like this, and he says, "Gentlemen, thank you. That'll be enough. I need to think about this." Well, later that afternoon, Margaret Thatcher, famously now, called him. He genuinely didn't know what to do.
And you're talking about Papa Bush.
Papa Bush.
Yeah.
And she said, "George, now's not the time to go wobbly." Next thing you know, we have 6 aircraft carrier battle groups on their way to the Gulf, 250,000 ground troops, and we liberated Kuwait, February 1991.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you played a role in that how were you 30 yet?
I was 26.
And did you, was there any part of you, it's like, I shouldn't be here, I don't really know what I'm saying?
Oh, everybody has imposter syndrome. All of us did. I remember thinking, why me? Who am I? I'm just some guy from Pennsylvania. And here I am sitting with the president, telling the president what to do. But I liked it. I enjoyed it. It was exciting. I was on a plane once from Milan to Sofia, Bulgaria. I never talk to people on planes. I just, put in my earbuds, read a book, whatever.
You did that purposely. Not to blow your
Not to blow my cover.
Okay.
And there's this guy next to me, this Italian guy, and he's the whole flight, and I'm trying to give him one-word answers. And what they taught us in training is, they ask you what you do for a living, just tell them something that's so boring that they don't ask follow-up questions. Because usually I'd say, "Oh, I'm involved in training. We train people, who do international trade and import-export." And people are like, "Oh, that sounds great." And that's the end of it. So this guy, Finally I said, "Okay, look, I smuggle women and cigarettes from Eastern Europe. Are you happy now?" And he goes, "Well, I don't think I approve." I said, "I didn't ask your fucking approval." And then he just kind of sat there like this the rest of the flight. And I thought to myself, finally. But at least I didn't blow my cover.
Yeah. Hey guys, I think a bunch of you know that I'm on a health journey these days. I'm trying to cook different, maybe trying to exercise a little bit differently, trying to walk more, even trying to sleep better. But even with all that, my favorite cousin kept pushing me. She said you should consider supplements. And if I'm honest, I was a little bit hesitant. I don't know whether it's because I was busy, whether I just didn't want more stuff in my body. But recently I found something really beautiful. If you haven't tried Dose before, this is a wonderful supplement. It's about 2 ounces. A lot of folks say it tastes like mango, but with a little bit of kick in it. It's got beautiful things like turmeric and ginger and lemon, all sorts of goodness in it. And it's great if you've got cholesterol issues like yours truly, or even if you're just thinking about kind of general liver health. Look, I'm no doctor, but I know that good stuff is good stuff. And so I hope you'll consider this. And if you do, tell them that Carlos sent you. Go ahead and get 35% off. Enjoy it, enjoy it, and enjoy it. And so you're rising. Are you on your way to becoming the director of the CIA?
Yeah, I wish.
I mean, were you on that trajectory? Like, would someone reviewing the rising young superstars have tabbed you as one of the rising young superstars?
No, that is a very, very political position. And there have only been 3, I guess, directors over the years who were career CIA officers. Everybody else has been an outsider. The former FBI director, lots of generals, which I think has always, historically been a big mistake.
And why would they want generals?
I don't know. You get 4 shiny stars on your shoulder and they think that you're Superman, you can do anything. And it was my experience that people became 4-star generals by saying, "Yes, sir." You don't want somebody in that position to say, "Yes, sir." You want somebody in that position who can say, "Mr. President, let me tell you why that's a terrible idea," right? You need somebody with the wherewithal to stand up to the policymakers.
So it's so clear to me that you still love and revere the work that you did, and that you were one of the fortunate people in this life who actually got to do something that they both dreamed of.
I thoroughly enjoyed my career.
Yeah, you enjoyed it.
But after 9/11, everybody went nuts. They just went nuts. They acted like law, whether domestic or international, meant nothing to us. We were the good guys. We had been wronged. We were going to take revenge. And you're either with us or you're against us. And if you're against us, then get out.
I know that torture and the question around torture ends up becoming a place where you raise your hand and where you object. And I know that ultimately metastasized, but just give us a version of that for people who don't know the story.
Well, I was one of 14 people asked if I wanted to be trained in the use of what they called enhanced interrogation techniques. I was the only one of the 14 who said no. I believed it was illegal. Besides being immoral and unethical, I thought it was illegal. It was illegal. It was clearly illegal. Any moron can read the law that we wrote, the Federal Torture Act of 1946. Anybody can read the United Nations Convention Against Torture and Cruel and Inhumane Treatment. And I mean, it doesn't get any clearer than that.
Take me through torture. So you're one of 14 people who they ask, do you want to get trained in this? And you're like, no, it's illegal. Take me.
Yeah. A buddy of mine in the Counterterrorism Center who happened to be a psychiatrist, MD, PhD, and a brigadier general in the Army. And we go to the same church, we're in the same men's group. He said to me one day, buddy, you know they call you the human rights guy behind your back. And I said, yeah, I know. And he said, you know that's not a compliment, right? And I said, Steve, I'm right and they're wrong. And I'm comfortable with my position. Well, that was not the popular position to take. And so they kind of squeezed me out. But I had done so well in Pakistan that I became the executive assistant to the deputy director for operations. So my career just continued to go straight up.
So that was a big deal, though, to raise your hand on a question of principle.
I was the only one.
And your career still keeps going well?
Because I had a rabbi who...
My dad always says that. My dad always says, you don't need a mentor, you need a rabbi or an angel.
That's it.
Yeah.
He sat above the guys making these torture decisions. And he said, don't worry about it. And he said, you did the right thing. He called it a slippery slope. He said, you know how these guys are. Somebody's going to kill a prisoner, and then they're going to go to prison.
And what exactly were they doing? Like, I've heard the word waterboarding, but like for someone who, again, has never been in the room.
Okay, so let's say you are laying on this slab of granite right here, but it's slightly elevated, so your feet are a little bit higher than your head. They'll wrap your face and head in material, a towel, whatever, tie you down so you can't move, and then pour water on your face. So water gets in your mouth, you start to drown. In the case of Abu Zubaydah, he actually did drown. His heart stopped. He had to be revived so they can torture him more. What is that? That's who we want to be, right? Ronald Reagan said, we're a shining city on a hill. We're this shining beacon of hope for human rights and civil liberties. Are we really?
But I know some people, and I'm assuming Dick Cheney types, came to you and said, come on, John, cut the shit.
And I said, if you want to be for torture, knock yourself out. But you have to change the law because the law is clear. We executed Japanese soldiers who had waterboarded American POWs in the Second World War. That was a death penalty crime. In January of 1968, the Washington Post ran a front page photograph of an American soldier waterboarding a North Vietnamese prisoner. Robert S. McNamara was the Secretary of Defense. He ordered an investigation. That soldier was arrested. He was convicted of torture and sent to Leavenworth for 20 years. But then in 2002, no, it's fine. It's all legal.
Does torture work?
No. See, and that's the biggest thing. Even if you think, well, these guys are really bad, they mean us harm, they're murderers, mass murderers. Okay, fine. It doesn't work. So then, when people that we're torturing give us this meaningless information, we bog down analysts for months trying to get through it. What's nonsense? What's real? What's a half-truth? Because they're going to tell you anything they think you want to hear just to get you to stop torturing them.
So when people tell us that they did get real stuff for some of these top guys, you're saying that that's bullshit.
It's bullshit.
That they did not get actionable.
FBI got the actionable intelligence. And the way they did it was by saying, would you like a cup of coffee? If you're really good, you tell me what I want to know. I'll let you write a letter to your mom and dad. Would you like a cigarette or an orange? And you establish a rapport with people and treat them with respect. And the next thing you know, you can't shut them up.
Even seasoned hardcore,
Especially seasoned hardcore terrorists, because they know that the gig is up. So I said this to Abu Zubaydah. I said, listen, I am the nicest guy that you're going to meet in this experience. My colleagues are not nice like I am. You know that your life is over. So what's left of it, it can be easy or it can be terrible. It's up to you.
how do you end up in jail? How is that possible?
Brian Ross of ABC News called me and said that he had a source who said that I had tortured Abu Zubaydah. I said that was absolutely untrue. I was kind to Abu Zubaydah. I was the only person.
Did he really have it, or do you think he was bullshitting you? He was baiting you?
No, he had a source.
Okay.
I ended up going to work for Brian at ABC. I was the counterterrorism consultant at ABC for 3 years. He was telling the truth.
Okay.
So he said, well, you're welcome to come on the show and defend yourself. I had never spoken to a journalist before. I didn't know that was an old trick that they use. So the Red Cross, Amnesty International, and Human Rights Watch had all come out with papers, with studies saying the CIA's got a torture program. And they kept saying, no, there's no torture. Bush is saying, no, we don't torture. He looks in the camera, we do not torture. It's all a lie. So I called Brian. I said, I'll give you your interview. And I decided, whatever he asks me, I'm going to tell the truth. Well, I said that the CIA was torturing its prisoners, that torture was official policy, and that the policy had been personally approved by the president himself. The president was a bald-faced liar.
You said that?
Yeah. And the president said the next day, it was kind of funny to me. He said, I don't know this man. I've not met this man. I don't know why this man would throw me under the bus.
And was it true? Did you know W?
No, I had never met him. But he was a war criminal. So the FBI began investigating me the very next day, the day after the...
Did you know that that by virtue of you saying that was going to happen? Like, had you been in the apparatus long enough?
Yes.
And so why did you do it? Did you have...
Because I was right. They were criminals. They were breaking the law. We are either going to be a nation of laws or we're not. We're going to be a nation of chaos. And I don't want to be the citizen of a country that exists in a state of chaos. One of my former bosses called me and said, you know the shit's going to hit the fan now, right? And I said, I know. I'm ready for it. And then a retired deputy director of the CIA emailed me. I saved the email as a souvenir. And he said, you've chosen a difficult road. I'm glad somebody did. I only wish I had had the courage to do it myself. So they investigated me for a year, and the Justice Department determined that because we have a law in this country saying that it is illegal to classify a crime, and torture is a crime, that I hadn't committed any crime. 3 weeks later, Barack Obama becomes president. And a couple of weeks after that, John Brennan becomes the Deputy National Security Advisor for counterterrorism. John and I always hated each other. And he was one of the fathers of the torture program. He was the executive director of the CIA when they came up with it. He was the number 3 in the CIA. He sent a memo to Eric Holder, the new Attorney General, saying, charge him with espionage. And Holder wrote back and said, my people don't think he committed espionage. And Brennan wrote back and said, charge him anyway and make him defend himself. So they investigated me for 3 more years, tapped my phones, intercepted my emails, followed me everywhere I went for 3 years.
You were aware of this?
I was not. I thought it was over because we got a declination letter from DOJ saying, we found no crime, you're free to go.
But hold on, you're a super sophisticated guy. You followed people yourself.
I was an instructor in surveillance.
And you weren't aware that they were following you for 3 years? They were that good?
Not around my own house. It's just I wasn't looking for it. Overseas, I was constantly looking in my side view mirrors, constantly. Not in Arlington, Virginia.
And you didn't have any friends whispering to you, saying, hey, John?
Nobody said a word. So they arrested me in January of 2012, charged me with 5 felonies, including 3 counts of espionage, which can carry the death penalty, I might add. And they waited until I went bankrupt from legal fees, and then they dropped the espionage charges. I hadn't committed espionage. Telling ABC News that the CIA's committing crimes, that's not espionage.
So how do you end up inside, though?
Because they told me that they had dropped the charges without prejudice, and if I didn't take a plea, they had to save face. If I didn't take a plea to a lesser charge, they were going to recharge me with espionage. If I'm convicted of espionage, what am I looking at? And they said 12 to 18 years. Take the deal. One of my, a little angry with me, and he got right in my face, and he said, you know what your problem is? Your problem is you think this is about justice, and it's not about justice. It's about mitigating damage. Take the deal. So I took the deal.
In retrospect, did you do the right thing?
Yeah.
You should have taken the deal.
I had 5 kids.
You should have taken the deal.
Absolutely.
Because?
You can't win. They have a literally unlimited budget. They charged me in a federal court where no national security defendant has ever won a case. And overall, the DOJ, according to ProPublica, wins 98.2% of its cases.
Yeah. That's crazy. And most Americans don't know that.
Yeah. You don't have a chance. The director of counterterrorism at the CIA, the night before I went to prison, tweeted at me. And he said, don't drop the soap, ha ha ha, with a laughing emoji.
He tweeted that?
Uh-huh. And I gave myself an hour or two to calm down. And then I tweeted back at him. And I said, Jose, I am on the right side of history, and you are not. And then I went to prison the next morning.
And so what was prison like for you, for a former CIA officer?
Groundhog Day. I was lucky in that I used my CIA training to stay safe. I made strategic alliances from the minute I walked through the door.
Was there a chance you would not have been safe?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
People are generally pretty stupid in prison. And CIA, FBI, you're all cops to them. And if you're a cop, you're going to get a beat down. But one of the Italians, God bless him, I just talked to him this morning. He took it upon himself. He saw an article in the New York Times saying I was going to arrive at that prison. And he took it upon himself to go to every single one of the Italians and say, there's a guy coming here. He's a CIA guy. He's not an FBI agent. FBI are cops and rats. The CIA protected us from the Muslims. And they're like, oh, okay. And they adopted me. And then the Nation of Islam, I say it in my second book, this perfectly timed statement from Louis Farrakhan saying that I was a hero of the Muslim people for standing up for human rights. It saved me from the Muslims. So the Aryans called me the Muslim hunter because this rumor got around that I was an assassin killing Muslims. The Muslims loved me because I stood up for human rights. All that left was the Mexican cartel guys. And one of them asked me if I would write his appeal, and I did. He lost. He was guilty. But I didn't charge him anything. And so he told all the other cartel guys that I was a good guy.
Did you ever think that your life was in danger while you were inside?
If it ever was, it was because of the crooked, violent guards, not from any of the prisoners.
So you get out and you're a normal, healthy person, or?
No, this is the thing about being released from prison. You think you can step back into your life again, and you can't. Your life is never going to be the same.
Because?
Because you're not the same. You know, everybody comes out of prison with PTSD. Everybody. I can't tell you how many times I woke up in the middle of the night having the same dream that it's count time and I find myself outside the prison and I have to figure out how to get back in to be in my bunk in time for count time or they're going to send me to solitary. And I can't figure out how to get back inside. I had a dream for 2 years after I got out. But then, it wears off and you start thinking about patching together a career, and my marriage didn't survive it. But,
Sorry.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Yeah.
But
who are you today?
I like who I am. I'm not perfect. I can be a judgmental asshole. But on this one issue, I was right and they were wrong.
Is the Trump team better on torture and these kinds of issues?
They are in an odd way. Trump sometimes makes the wrong statements. I'm going to bring back waterboarding and a hell of a lot worse. No, you're not. You're talking tough, but no, he never did any of that stuff. He made a mistake twice in his first term appointing very, very bad people as CIA director. Very bad. Like Mike Pompeo, oh my God. The only person less popular than Mike Pompeo at the CIA was Mrs. Mike Pompeo, let me tell you. I got that from one of his bodyguards. And then Gina Haspel.
Wait, why?
You, go get my dry cleaning. You, go walk my dog. They're like, lady, we don't work for you. We're protecting your husband. We're not going to go get your dry cleaning and walk your dog. The other one was Bloody Gina Haspel. We called her Bloody Gina for a good reason. She flew out to the secret site to sit in on one of the torture sessions just because she could. Just to sit there and enjoy it and take it all in. What kind of sick person does something like that?
So what does that say to you, and how do you communicate that to your son if you're only going to have one last conversation with him?
Yeah.
What are you going to say to him if this is true?
There's a saying in ancient Greek that translates to know thyself, right? You really have to trust yourself. Of course, we all make